back to Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. I'm Dave Palumbo, and tonight I'm here with John Romano for a special retrospective on the life of Arthur L. Ray, and we're joined also tonight with his wife, Laina Jensen. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Such sad circumstances that we have to meet on.
Yeah, it
really
is. It's a shame. It's kind of a reunion of sorts because back when we started RxMuscle in 2009, Arthur L. Ray was one of the true believers in the vision that John and I had for the RxMuscle website, and he put his money where his mouth was, and both Laina, you and Arthur sponsored the site. And for those first couple of years, if it wasn't for you guys, we would have probably gone out of business very early on in the game. And so thanks to the support of Arthur and ALR Industries, we actually became a force to be reckoned with in the media website business. So I have to thank you for that. Laina, I think just to start off, give us the circumstances surrounding Arthur's death, and then we'll go into the life of Arthur, so for people who really don't know him.
Well, kidney disease for, maybe 8 to 10 years. And there's 5 different stages of kidney disease that you can kind of morph into. You're either going to go backwards or forwards if it's caught early enough. And he just kept going forward. And a lot of it was due to the fact that he just would refuse to accept, I have an illness. I'm not going to let it stop me. I have a goal in mind. I'm just going to keep, working myself to death. So about the time we sold our company to High Tech Pharmaceuticals was about the time he was diagnosed with end-stage renal failure, which essentially means you basically have 2 dead kidneys, and the only thing keeping you alive is dialysis.
Right.
And he did peritoneal dialysis, which was daily, for about 2 years. And that started not to work for him enough. And then he got a fistula put in his arm, which is tying a vein to an artery, and that was your source of blood. And you would just stick a needle directly into the vein and do dialysis, hemodialysis. So I was in the process of getting trained to do that for him because they don't allow hemodialysis patients to do it themselves. So during that time, he got a number of infections, peritoneal infections. And then this last time he had a catheter, a neck catheter, where he had dialysis coming out of his neck, and that got infected. And I had to take him in on 9/11, unfortunately. And he had spent the last month in the hospital, and it surely led to his demise.
Yeah, they say once you go to the hospital, that's where all the disease is, and that's where all the germs are. And the longer you're in the hospital, the more likely you are to probably die from a hospital-borne illness than from what you originally came in for.
In a lot of ways that's true. And he did, when he was in there, he ended up having this perforated valve that abscessed, just a number of things, a bacteria infection in his blood. Dialysis wouldn't work. It was kind of a shitstorm of just horrible things to come for him.
Was there any reason given for such a precipitous breakdown in all of his systems like that? So many infections. What was their reason?
Well, the doctors, this was his second 30 to 40-day hospital stay in 2 years. He had an episode a year ago, and the doctors, his nephrologist has always told me, I'm shocked he's alive. I mean, he outlived his diagnosis by at least 2 years.
Wow.
So he was kind of a freak show for them because they couldn't understand it. His phosphorus was high, and if your phosphorus is high, it's fatal. Potassium was high. Everything was high. He had all these jacked up, elevated blood levels. Proteinuria was horrible. So, they didn't really know. They just said he's a fighter. And then this last one just got him because it was just a barrage of different illnesses that eventually just ended him. Yeah. And we saw him. My son and I saw him the Friday. He passed away last Saturday. We, by a freak of luck, I just said, let's go see Dad, in the hospital. And we saw him. We were able to talk to him. And he looked like hell. I mean, he really did. He looked beat up. And then he died that morning. So I counted a blessing that we were able to at least see him that one last time.
Let's take a step back now. Now that we kind of have it out there, because I don't like when people make up their own rumors about what happened and everything like that. Let's take a step back, to when you first met Arthur. What year was that?
Oh God, 1985, I think.
Oh, you know that long? Wow, I didn't know that.
As a matter of fact, we met in a gym, and I was 15, 16 years old, and it was Oak Ridge Athletic Club in San Jose. They were dumb and had all the leg equipment on the top floor, the second floor. So he had just done this crazy set of legs and literally fell on me down the stairs. We kind of and at 15, I wasn't like scrawny, but I was scrawnier than he was.
Yeah.
So it was very memorable. And I met him there, and I worked out. And a few years later, we started dating, and then that's all she wrote.
Wow. So, and when did you guys get married?
That would have been in the county of Santa Clara.
Now, what happened?
It was a quick jailhouse wedding, okay? I'm not going to lie.
You guys did you really got married in jail? When he was in jail?
We did.
Oh, my God, that's funny.
Yeah, by the way, Mom and Dad, you're welcome. They didn't have to pay for a big wedding. So.
That is funny. How old was he when he went to jail?
He was, I would say 35 maybe.
Okay.
33.
So you guys dated for a long time then. Wow.
Well, we dated, but I also married him pretty young. I was about 19 or 20 when I married him. So, yeah, and then he did a long vacation in the Santa Clara County Department of Corrections.
What happened? Yeah, take us back, because I've heard a million stories, and I know he told me a million stories. What was the real reason? What was he in jail for?
Oh, well, it's funny you say that, because when we decided to do supplements and he decided to be on the right side of the law, I said, babe, you're halfway there. You already know how to manufacture. You just manufacture legal substances.
Right.
It's easy. So, yeah, Santa Clara County deemed him the cocaine king of the world, I guess, back in the 80s.
Wow.
So, yeah, he did a lengthy stretch for being a bad boy.
Is that when you met Pablo Escobar?
Oh, yeah.
Did he really meet Pablo Escobar? Because I know he told me that. I know he used to sensationalize his stories. Was that true?
Well, I can tell you this. From the way back in the day, and I never met him personally, but I do remember somebody that I thought was him. And whether it's true or not, I don't know. I was a teenager. But he wasn't a street thug. So
Right.
But I never met him personally. So
Gotcha. So Arthur he's selling cocaine, obviously. He gets a jail stint. How long did he do? Because I know he did a very long time from what he told me.
10 or 11, wasn't it?
12 years.
12 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
And how did he stay mentally sane over 12 years in a state prison,
You know what? I don't know. And I visited him all those years, and I saw some crap on the visitor side that just blew my mind. So I can only imagine what he saw. I mean, he told me he would see stabbings, people stab people to death, a guard shot a prisoner. I mean, and he was right there. He saw all of this. So he saw some horrible crap. And so I think that really paved the way for him to be a good boy and get out on parole and quit doing that shit.
Well, you guys stayed together the whole 12 years.
Yep. We had conjugal visits, and I would go to the prison every month for about a weekend. It was the most bizarre time of my life. I mean, it really was. I was like about 24-ish, when that happened. I don't know if I do that at 44.
Probably not.
You go, I'm not going to a prison.
So they actually they actually let you guys, you stayed there for a weekend? Where would you stay?
They had these little bungalows. They're like little mini apartments at the prison. And you would check in, and they would go through all your stuff, and you'd stay, and it was locked up, and he'd have count like 4 or 5 times a night where he had to go out to the fence. And we were totally in barbed wire hell, heaven or hell.
I didn't know they did that. I thought that was like a joke, but they really allow you to have conjugal visits, huh?
Yeah, I had conjugal visits with him for years.
Wow, that's weird. I didn't know. They won't let you smoke cigarettes now, but you're allowed to have sex with your wife. That's pretty good. They didn't do that in federal.
Back then they did. They allowed you to smoke cigarettes. They allowed conjugal visits.
Right.
The only thing they took away back then was the weights, and they compensated with water bags. That's how they would work out in prison.
Now,
after that was the water bags.
Laina, would you smuggle steroids into prison for Arthur?
Oh, hell no.
You know he asked you. I'm sure he asked you, dude.
Strip search.
Arthur probably.
I literally had to strip down sometimes, and they searched you.
Really?
It's hard to smuggle stuff into a prison unless you're a guard.
I'm surprised Arthur didn't come up with some kind of a way you could swallow something and, poop it out or something like that while you're there,
No, but that did happen in a visiting room once.
What?
Some girl had a bag of something in her mouth, and she gave it to the guy they kissed.
Right.
And there was cameras on him, and they scooped him up right away.
Oh, really?
And they called it. He went on potty duty. He had to be in a room until he did his thing, and there was their evidence.
Wow.
That
sucks. It was the weirdest.
Breathing.
Oh, I know. Some of those prison guards aren't paid enough. If you want to know the truth, God.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Now he does 12 years. When he's coming to the end of his stint, is it almost unbelievable that the guy's going to be coming home? It's got to be a weird feeling, to not have this guy in your life, and then all of a sudden he's out.
Well, yeah, and one of the things he did, which was highly unusual, is he paroled on his original parole date. So the judge sentenced him and said, "You get out on October 31st, 2002," and he did it. He never got an infraction. He kept his nose clean. I mean, we were like the Barbie and Ken in the prison. Everyone loved us. They knew that we were like low key. We weren't going to skirt around. They knew I wasn't into drugs. I mean, it was very. It was a different time, but it was okay. It wasn't horrible.
Was he bitter over losing that 12 years of his life?
No, he was humbled. He was humbled because he knows he screwed up. He goes, "I pushed the limit, and I got caught, and I paid dearly for it."
What was life like before he got arrested?
Oh, very pompous and arrogant.
Yeah.
Extreme. Oh yeah.
What was your lifestyle like?
Well, I was still in my late teens, so mine, but I remember he was very flashy, had Corvettes. I remember one time they were staking out his house, and he went across the street, knocked on the window, and said, "I'm going to go to the gym, going to go grab a burger. I'll be home about 5. And I used to be like, why would you say that? But at the time, that was him,
So
and then after that, he even told me when he paroled, he goes, "I can't believe what an ass I used to be." So it was like, okay.
So it really was like a movie. I mean, he was living out the movie part. Like, that's something you see the wise guys do in like the mafia movies, knock on the door of the feds that are sitting outside their house,
Yeah, it really was. And as his wife, I hate to say it, but prison was probably the best thing that ever happened to him.
All right, so Laina, he gets out of prison. What is he going to do? Now he's got to say to himself, hey, I got to earn a living legitimately now. Was he plotting stuff in prison like when he got out, what he was going to do, or did he kind of get depressed when he got out and then have to come up with something? How did he transition?
Not at all. He actually wrote chemical muscle enhancement on several rolls of toilet paper while in prison. I mean, like, he wrote it on whatever he could,
right. And
then he would send things home to me, in the mail, and I would be on my huge Gateway computer, that monstrosity, and I'd start to type it out for him, and he hit the ground running. He got his book printed, and we started selling it online, and his parole officers loved him because he immediately came out and showed him,
right.
This is what I do, this is what I know, this is what I'm doing, and they loved him. I mean, they were so happy with him, and then it evolved, chemical muscle enhancement, building the perfect beast. There was a third one that he never released, and I'm happy because it got into some weird shit. I mean, it was like genetic replication, and
building the perfect beast was pretty weird too.
Yeah, it really was. So and the last one was Domination, and he never released it, and then we kind of morphed into supplements,
right?
Which was the beginning of a huge career for both of us.
I want to see the one that never got published. What was that one going to be called? What was the name of that one?
No, it was Domination.
And
Domination was the name of that one.
And what was it about?
Literally genetic replication. I mean, like replicating muscle cells, and it just was some far off shit. I didn't even know what to say when he told me. I was like, oh my God, really?
I want a copy of it. You got to email me a copy of it. I want to see it.
I will.
He might have cured cancer in there for all we know. I got to look through this. Come on, I got to. He had some very good insights into how nutrition worked and how supplements worked and drugs, and some of the theories were crazy, but some of them were genius, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, he was. I had no idea. At least 8 years into our marriage, how incredibly intelligent he was. He would start talking to me and my eyes would glaze over and I'm like, okay, write it down in crayon. I don't have a clue what you just said.
Yeah, I couldn't follow what he said either.
Well, once we started ALR Industries, he got on my case one time. He goes, listen, you're going to have to learn the science behind this. I go, okay, fine. Well, you're going to have to dumb it down for me. I don't know what you're talking about, Yeah. And then eventually I think I got a good handle, on all of our supplements and stuff, but it took a while. It was brutal.
Arthur would explain things as if, like, you knew nuclear physics, or something like that. That's and I had a very high understanding of nutrition and biochemistry, and he would speak to me like he would speak to the layman, and even I sometimes had to stop him and slow him down and ask him questions. I don't even know where he got some of the stuff from, but he was pretty on the mark with most of the stuff. That's why I said he must have had a photographic memory, because I don't even know. Right?
He loved to read. I mean, he would read anything. And then, I could give him something that I was into and tell him I don't understand it. He'd read it and he would be able to explain it, or at least understand it. So he was a very smart man. Ridiculously smart.
And John, who had better names for their products than Arthur, right? With the best names of all time.
Great names.
How did he come up with those names?
He just came up with them. The one, Porn Star, Chained Out, Jungle Warfare. The original Jungle Warfare bottle. And I read something that somebody sent me online. It was actually a picture of his eyeball with some weird thing around it. Nobody knows that either. But that, if you look really carefully at an original Jungle Warfare, it was his eyeball, in a puzzle. And I don't know how he comes up with that. I just went, whoa.
To me, the branched-chain amino acid product, Chained Out, was the greatest name. As a matter of fact, I was trying to think of a name for mine, and I kept thinking Chained Out. I'm like, how could I ever beat that name? That's the greatest name of all time. It was so original.
Yep.
It really was. It really was.
Badass Mass he had. What was some of the other ones?
WTF.
What the yeah.
Wake the Freak. We were told that was insulting, so we kind of modified the name.
Yeah.
What else?
Humor Pro was great. Humor Pro was great.
Humor Pro still is great. It's High Tech's taken over that label and done really wonderful things with it, marketing wise, and they're prolonging the brand, and I'm eternally grateful for that. I love going online and seeing all of my husband's products still, coming to light.
Did you guys make money when you sold the company?
Yes, we did.
Are you financially secure for the rest of your life?
My husband couldn't have left my son and I in a better position.
Awesome.
I don't ever need to worry about anything ever.
Awesome.
And that was one of the things when he was dying. He said he started transferring all the stuff into my name, and which was morbid for me. He and I got in a lot of arguments about it, because I would be the one going, never mind, no. And we made investments, and I say we, but it was really him. He made some very smart investments for our family, and he couldn't have left my son and I in a better position.
What is he Jewish, Arthur?
No, but he is a tight ass. He comes by that honestly.
So how did he go from Scott Jensen to Arthur L. Ray? And Ray spelled Rhea, so it was just
that's my maiden name.
He had to explain. What?
Ray is my maiden name.
Ah, okay.
And so when he got out of prison, he wanted to leave Scott Jensen, the felon, behind and start a new legitimate lifestyle. And and author L. Ray initially was author Laina Ray. That was a little tribute to me. And then we started screwing around with it, saying, oh, we found out El Rey means the king in Spanish. You know? So we started little spoofs here and there, but initially that's where it came from.
Yeah, I always thought it was King Arthur, Arthur L. Ray. I thought that's what it meant. King Arthur.
Well,
I used
we
to
had a
call
lot of... You want to use on that?
Blackman told me he was Jewish. I think Scott is Jewish. He goes. He tried to pull the Jewish card on him. You remember? John and I started before John and I started RxMuscle when we worked for Muscular Development. We had the radio show No Bull Radio, and John and I wanted to, monetize it, and we wanted to sell advertising for it because Blackman's ad guy Adam Ginsberg couldn't sell ads and told Steve no one will advertise on a radio show. So John and I said, "Hey Steve, let us sell ads, and whatever we bring in, we'll get a commission on it." So John and I go out in 3 days. We get 2 advertisers, one of which was the main sponsor was Arthur, put up a lot of money to sponsor that radio show because he believed in what we were doing. And then what's his name? John tried to get a commission check for us, and what did Blackman say?
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Adam.
Who couldn't sell the advertising.
Give it to Adam.
Adam was too busy online looking at haunted houses because his true passion was not selling ads on MD. It was decorating haunted houses for Halloween, which is I think where he is now. He's probably dressed as a fucking pumpkin somewhere in some house out in Suffolk County here.
That is so bizarre. Halloween. I would have never pegged it.
Yeah. The great ad guy over at MD.
Yeah, great ad guy. The ad man.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you this. I've met some of the best people I know from your guys' board, including the two of you.
Yeah.
We hired employees off your board. I've met some of the greatest people that I still stay in touch with, even now.
I'll say one thing. Right before we did the show, I got a text message from Karina Nascimento, who had just heard the news. And her and her husband, John Hoffman, who used to own Lone Star, were very, very upset. I guess they really liked you and Arthur very much, they said.
Great people. John and Karina are awesome. We had them over to our house years ago in Texas, and my son and her daughter went swimming, and they're just wonderful people.
Well, I never forget, Arthur used to throw this party every year for the Lone Star distributors, because I guess they were your main distributor. And every year at the Dallas Europa Super Show, the day before, Arthur would usually go to a restaurant. I think it was like one of those Brazilian steakhouses. And he would just, all the bells and whistles. He'd invite every Lone Star rep, all the people that he was friends with. I know John and I would always be there. And it would just be like a free-for-all, all you can eat, and everyone would drink and have a great time. And, that was his, almost like his revenge against Europa Sports at the time. To have this Lone Star party.
The parties in Vegas were awesome.
Oh, God. We threw some great ones, crazy ones. Even in Ohio at the BOMA with Jason Deere.
Oh, yeah, right. I think didn't Mr. G wrestle the midgets one year at the party that Arthur threw there? John?
Say that one.
John, you remember when Mr. G wrestled the midgets that one year?
Yes, that was in Vegas. That was in Ohio, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was at Arthur's party.
Yeah. That's right. The midgets were getting thrown around, and then we got chastised for being cruel to midgets, on the board the next day, or we got some complaint that we were being mean to challenged people.
No, Mr. G fought a midget, wrestled one of the midgets in the midget wrestling, and the guy was taking it seriously and was beating the hell out of him. And,
killing.
And so Mr. G went crazy and almost pulled the whole tent outside down and body slammed the guy. Who almost killed the midget.
He threw him. He threw him again. He threw the midget. And it hit the pole that was holding up the tent, and the tent almost fell down. The
That was
myth
the
of
most
lion.
disturbing thing I saw. I mean, that night, it was like, oh.
And a lot of people don't remember that Laina and Arthur gave Chrissy, Chin, and Troy their first start, and that's, and they gave the big sexy Louis Uridell his first start. So all that you got a lot of. I thought I had a lot of crazy people working for me. You had all the original cronies. You groomed everyone for this industry.
Well, we tried to just grow with everyone. I mean, we've known. I actually feel incredibly old. All these people are going, "Hey, I bought my first house because of you," and I'm going, "Oh crap! Well, great. I'm happy to be there, but God, I'm old." But yeah, we did. We came out of the supplement industry with a ton of people that we worked with and enjoyed, and it was hard to leave too.
You groomed them. I mean, you made, just like I groomed a lot of the media people that are out there now, but you groomed all the buyers and all the salespeople, and I guess the people who run operations at a lot of these supplement companies now out there.
Yeah, I mean, one of our ex-employees now owns Better Bodies in Southern California, and he's worked it into a chain. Couldn't be prouder of him. He's one of those kids that just is. He's a beast on the sales department, and I love seeing things like that. I love people that have worked for us, taken the knowledge we've given them, and gone on to do bigger and better things. I'm always happy about that. Now, I think it's awesome.
Now, Laina, I got to ask you, because Arthur, we all know, we talked about his intellect, we talked about his insights into supplements and his ability to create stuff that wasn't out there. He obviously was a genius in that respect, but he also liked to create this persona of a super sensationalism. Now, I never, even to this day, I never knew what was actual truth and what was embellishment on his part. I got to ask you, he hit me with a couple things. One of the things that I remember was he told me that he was involved in the development of Viagra. Was that true, or was that just an embellishment?
I wouldn't say Viagra, but he was working with a couple of pharmaceutical companies.
Okay.
Like, I can't remember the name of the one he was working with. He did pass some formularies, but I don't know if it was Viagra. I can't say that that's, yes or no on that.
John, you have any other ones?
Let's talk about his music career. He was a great guitar player. I remember him playing a few times, but he told me one time he was singing backup for Kid Rock. Is that one of those things, or?
I don't know about that. No.
I think that was made up, John.
Yeah, I think he wanted to.
Who
That's
would?
for sure. Yeah. No, he actually, when he was a teenager, played at the Whiskey A Go-Go.
Did he really?
As a backup guitarist.
Wow.
So he was behind the scenes, but that he did do. And he was a great guitarist.
Yeah, he was. Who'd he play for in L.A.?
Moby Grape. I know that one. And they were not they were a band back in the day that maybe played twice at Whiskey A Go-Go, but so.
Do you think that, Arthur obviously missed his peak years, obviously, as an athlete, because obviously he was a bodybuilder when he was in prison. How do you think he would have done would he have competed as a bodybuilder? Do you think, was he that into it that he wanted to get up on stage and compete?
Oh yeah. He did, before he went down, he did a pre-contest. God, I can't even remember. It wasn't the Mr. San Jose. It was like some, step below it, just to try to get into competing. And then of course he got arrested. So that ended that pretty quick. But yeah, I think he would have done well in competition. And I think he absolutely would have done every one of them he could. He was very dedicated and very, on the spot type of guy when it comes to his nutrition and his weightlifting.
How did he get caught? What was the whole scenario around him actually getting caught? What was the final straw?
He had a group of people that, were in his whatever. And of course, one person gets arrested and they go and snitch everyone else out. And then that's all she wrote.
Oh, so he got snitched out, essentially. Is that what happened?
Oh, absolutely he did. And, the other people got a lesser sentence for their testimony against him. And, lesson to learn, but I'm glad he did do it because he needed to learn it.
Oh, yeah.
How many keys were involved?
I couldn't even tell you. Yeah, I just know before his release in 2000, what was it, 2001, he was a bad boy.
So
Yeah,
it was big time dealing.
With that,
was it big time dealing? Did he have like large amounts of like product? Was he?
Well, he wasn't like a street thug that had a pager and said, "Oh, come over and pick up this." He was
moving weight.
He was moving weights, and that's got some. It's hard.
Yeah. What do you think that drugs should be legalized, Laina?
No, I mean, the marijuana initiative, I'm all for that. I think if people were not so high strung and a little stoned, they might not beat the crap out of each other all the time. I mean, I am absolutely watching my husband die. Medicinal marijuana was a big help in his comfort. But drugs in general, no, I don't think they're good. I've seen too much more than I want to admit of how the end result of it, happens. So
how are his book sales doing? I mean, before and after the fact. I mean, I have Chemical Muscle Enhancement, and I have Building the Perfect Beast. And oddly, and it was so weird because this morning I was looking at it. I have this little shelf in my office where I'm just kind of like throwing things because I'm remodeling my house and everything's kind of disarrayed. And I look there, and there's the green Building the Perfect Beast, and on top of that is Dan Duchesne's book, on steroid handbook too. And I'm thinking, how ironic that these two guys would be, their two books would be on top of each other, today. So
yeah,
I don't know who put that there.
I have like 2 copies of each of his books left. Occasionally I run into it, like if I'm doing online shopping. I found a copy of Chemical Muscle Enhancement on eBay for like $350. Wow. And I'm just like, wow, I'll just give you a copy. It took me $12 to print it.
Who did all the illustrations?
Who did what?
The illustrations in those books.
One of I call them our kids, one of our sales kids had quite an artistic talent and did the Building the Perfect Beast.
That was great.
The other one, we had a graphic designer do it and made it look, scientific and whatnot.
They were cool books.
Yeah, and they started our career. They literally started our career. So it was kind of like a resume of the knowledge that he had to bring to the supplement world.
What do you think about all these peptide websites out there and these guys selling DNP and like everyone's not for human usage type stuff?
Well, originally, before he died, I had told him, I said, hey, I got to get back to work. I'm going batshit crazy. I'm not a good cook. I turn everyone's underwear pink in the laundry. I don't do this domestic shit. I got to go do something. And he said, well, why don't we make, do you want to get back into supplements? And I said, I really don't.
Yeah.
And that's because I've been looking at the baby boomer era, so to speak, and everybody's putting anything in a bottle. If you don't have a company that's been in the game a long time, like, for instance, high-tech pharmaceuticals, they've been in it for years and years and years, and they're a well-respected company. And, I mean, I know them personally, and I wouldn't buy anything from any of those websites. I just wouldn't. High Tech, though, somebody like High Tech that's been in the game for years, yeah, of course. But I think
Jared Wheat knows what he's doing.
Jared Wheat is, I actually have the utmost respect for that man on multiple levels. One, he's a genius in the business world, and he has done wonders with supplements. 2, and nobody would know this because he's also that type of a guy that keeps himself under wraps. When my husband had his first episode in the hospital about a year ago, when he was taken in for non-responsive, I just came home and he was just kind of like, dazed and wouldn't talk, and he was having some sort of an episode. Jared, as busy as he was, called me every single night, wanted an update, wanted the full spiel of what's going on, and I sought financial advice from him. He just took the time to just, counsel me over the phone. And I love Jared for that. I will always be a friend of his.
If Laina, if Arthur never got sick, and he was alive today and vibrant, what do you think he would have done? Where would he be in the supplement industry today? What would he have done? Did he have any visions that he never got a chance to really kind of play out?
Well, he was wanting to partner with Jared and what Jared's current vision was. And initially, he was going to help out with that. And then as he got sicker, he couldn't do it, you know? I mean, the requirements were going to be too much, even if he was sitting at home in his office. Yeah. I mean, he was that sick.
Right.
So I think he would have, we probably would have moved to Georgia to be closer to high tech and you know, jumped into their, you know, growing brand of lines and just started kicking ass like they are. But it just didn't happen that way, and that was because he got really sick.
Yeah. What was the one thing that when you think about your husband, I should say, what is the one thing you remember? The one story that like just rings in your head?
Well, there's actually two, but real quick, I'll never forget when he went to McKinney, Texas, to do a kind of a small little show, you know, at a big gym. And he comes back and he was just raving about how great McKinney was. And then he went back again 2 months later with a couple of our employees. Then he calls me and he goes, hey, I need the routing number of our checking account and the account number. I go, okay, why? He goes, I just bought a house. And I go, you motherfucker. Click. And then he calls me back. He goes, I'm kidding. I go, I'm not kidding either. You're still a motherfucker. You bought a house. You know, and he bought a house. And so then I was like, I was pissed. I was pissed. And then about a week later, he's still out there. And he goes, I need the account number again. And I go, why? He goes, I bought a limo. You motherfucker.
Yeah, I remember that. He bought a limo. What was that about?
You know, he had this Arthur L. Ray show that he liked to do, and it was good for marketing for a while, and then it just got ridiculous, you know? And then we calmed down after that. But I will say this, when Zach and I would fly to Texas to see our house for the first time, it was nice to be shoved in a limo where we didn't have to worry about, you know. But, yeah, he bought a limo and a house on a phone call.
Well, that's when you moved to Texas.
What's that?
That's when you moved to Texas.
No, they didn't move.
We didn't move. We still kept our house.
Arthur moved. Arthur moved. She didn't leave. She ran the business from California. Arthur was driving around the limo in Texas.
Thank you, Dave. That's exactly what
I remember.
Each to their gifts.
That's when you guys were doing very well.
Oh, my God. And then when I saw the house, you know, because what you can buy a house for in Texas versus California, I mean, so it was a nice house, but it was just like, oh, my God. You know, and it got to, you know, we had models coming in and out of the house, and we did a lot of shoots there, and it was just, it wasn't home to me, but he loved it, so, you know.
He made it like the Playboy Mansion, John.
He kind of did.
Yeah.
He wanted that persona, the Playboy Mansion-like persona, and I remember, but you guys were doing very well back then, I remember, financially, right? You were killing it.
We were doing great.
Yeah.
So, you know, and after a while, it was like, you know, when we started slowing down, he got sick. I was the one that said, sign this. And he goes, what's it for? I go, we're selling the house in Texas. You know? It's like, we don't need it anymore. So I got my revenge.
The limo's going with it.
Yeah.
Oh, the limo was gone way before then, you know? I was like, and that was his mistake, letting me pay all the bills, because I was the one that was like, okay, this is gone, you know?
Laina, it's Steve Blackman here. I hear you have a limo for sale. I'm trading in my H1 Arnold Hummer. How much you selling it for?
Imagine Blackman driving a limo every day himself with his pen, John, and his New York Times and Wall Street Journal.
Yeah. And all the newspapers on the dashboard would all folded up. Yeah. And the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Daily News all in the morning in front of the 7-Eleven at 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
Well, Laina, you know, the reason I wanted to do this show is because, you know, Arthur did make a huge impact on my life, on John's life, on the life of RxMuscle. And without you guys and the support you gave us, we wouldn't be here today doing what we do. And I know Arthur and I talked a lot about putting out a live TV show at some point in the future, when the technology presented itself. And obviously, eventually it did, and I found Johnny Styles, and we discovered the ability to do this. And really, if it wasn't for your generosity and your belief in us, this would not have been possible. So I really want to just take the time, and I hope all our listeners out there are watching and to give a better understanding. Because a lot of people forget, Arthur hasn't been really out in the public eye for such a long time. To take a moment and reflect on the life of Arthur L. Ray, and we're laughing here, but I know he would have wanted it like this. He would have wanted us to celebrate his life rather than to look back at it in any sort of sad way.
That's absolutely true, and you guys are a good part of our career, and you guys are friends, and we've enjoyed working with you both.
Same here.
Is there anything you want to just say to the community in terms of words out there that maybe Arthur would have liked to convey and maybe didn't have a chance to?
Well, I will say this. I posted his passing on Facebook, and I was absolutely overwhelmed at the response I got. I mean, I'm still getting cards and plants and all sorts of stuff sent to the house, and condolences. So I thank everyone for that. It's been a rough go for me and for Zach both, and we're getting to the point now where we're kind of evening out a little bit. But that's what I want to thank. I want to thank everyone, and just let everyone know that ALR industry still lives through our good friends at High Tech, and thanks for all the support for over the years. And on a side note, I am getting into a different industry. Arthur bought me the El Rey Cantina, which is a Mexican restaurant and bar.
No
so
way.
I am now
Really?
Seriously. So now I'm El Rey at the El Rey Cantina.
Oh my God. Where is it?
In Camarillo, California.
Oh my
so I
God.
now own that, and I'm managing it and doing my thing there. So
if anyone is in the area who's watching the show, and they stop in and mention building the perfect beast, you get 10% off your bill.
I'll give you free beer. Come see me.
There you go. I just want a copy of the book that was never published. You got to send me that. That's all I ask for.
That would be amazing.
But I will send it to you because it's on freak status. I'm telling you, you're going to be blown away.
I need to be blown away because I think there's probably some genius in there. I got to dig it out. And if I promise him, if I dig it out, I'll give him 100% credit for it.
yeah, give us street cred. That's all we need.
Laina, thank you so much, and we're our prayers go out to you, our love and all the positive energy we can send over to you and your family. We know this is a hard time for you, and once again, I think the whole bodybuilding community feels the same way I do. Arthur supported us; he gave tremendously to this industry, unconditionally, and hopefully this show is a great testament and celebration of his life.
Yep.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
Don't be sad he was gone. Be happy he was here.
That's exactly right. And that's what we're doing, is celebrating his life, not mourning his death.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you both for appearing, and that's going to take us to the end of another episode of Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. I'm Dave Palumbo, saying see you next time.